Welcome back to Crafted Nest, a place where calm creativity finds its home. Today, we'll dive into something beautifully alive, a world of succulent arrangements that you can create with your own hands. Each design tells a story of patience, nature, and the simple joy of making something grow. As you watch, take a deep breath, feel the texture of the soil, the softness of moss, and the warmth of sunlight across your skin. Let your imagination wander, and maybe, just maybe, you'll find the next little project that fills your space with peace. If you love gentle DIY ideas, nature-inspired art, and the beauty of slow living, don't forget to subscribe to Crafted Nest and turn on the bell so you never miss the next creation that might just brighten your day. There's something profoundly poetic about driftwood, a piece of wood that once sailed the sea, shaped by salt, sun, and time. When you bring it home and give it a new life as a succulent sculpture, it feels like reviving nature's forgotten art. Imagine walking along the shore one morning, finding a twisted piece of wood softened by years of ocean waves. Its form is irregular, full of tiny cavities and grooves, the perfect cradle for your little succulents. Each crevice becomes a home for echeveria, haworthia, or tiny graptopetalum. You gently press the soil into the cracks, add small pebbles, maybe a bit of moss to keep the moisture, and suddenly that dry, forgotten branch breathes again. Place it on your balcony table or a shelf near the window. When sunlight touches the plants, the wood glows warm, and the greens seem to whisper stories of the sea. It's not just decoration, it's memory made visible. The driftwood reminds us that beauty can be reborn even from what's been cast away. To make it last, remember to mist your succulents lightly every few days and let them bask in indirect sunlight. Avoid overwatering. Driftwood doesn't like soggy roots. Over time, the roots will gently cling to the wood, becoming one harmonious sculpture. This DIY piece is more than a craft. It's a quiet dialogue between human hands and nature's patience. Every twist, every leaf, every grain of sand tells a story of resilience and renewal. Sometimes, beauty hides in the quiet corners of our cupboards, in the forgotten porcelain teacup once used by our grandmother. It holds stories of laughter, warmth, and morning rituals. When you turn that teacup into a home for a tiny succulent, it becomes something more than a plant. It becomes a vessel of memory. Picture this. Sunlight sneaks through the curtains, landing gently on your table. You pick up an old teacup, one with fading golden rims and delicate flowers painted by hand. Inside, you place a small handful of cactus soil, a few pebbles, and a miniature echeveria or sedum. The soft greens blend perfectly with the creamy porcelain, creating a harmony that feels timeless. It's an easy DIY project, yet it carries deep emotion. Each time you water your little garden, you're not just caring for a plant, you're honoring the past. The chipped edge of the cup, the hairline crack near the handle, the soft shine of the glaze, they tell stories of years gone by. These mini teacup gardens are perfect for desks, windowsills, or even as heartfelt gifts. Add a ribbon, a note, or a touch of dried moss for charm. The key is to let your heart guide the arrangement, not perfection. Over time, the roots will fill the tiny cup, and the plant will bloom quietly, teaching us that growth doesn't always need a grand space. Sometimes, all it takes is a small vessel and a bit of love. It's more than decor, it's a gentle reminder that beauty can sprout from what we already have, right where we are. There's a quiet strength in concrete, simple, grounded, unpretentious. When molded by your own hands, it becomes the perfect cradle for life that grows slowly and steadily, like succulents do. Picture the rhythm of creation, mixing the gray powder, pouring it into a round mold, waiting for it to dry under the sun. When you finally lift the mold, you're holding a piece of calm solidity, cool to the touch, beautifully imperfect. Inside it, you'll place a handful of gravel for drainage, then soft cactus soil, and finally, your chosen succulents, echeveria, jade plant, or zebra haworthia. Their subtle hues, jade green, blush pink, dusty silver, glow gently against the neutral gray bowl. This DIY isn't just about making decor, it's about shaping balance. The concrete speaks of permanence, while the succulents whisper renewal. Place it on your work desk, kitchen counter, or balcony table. Every time you glance at it, you'll feel that quiet harmony between human craft and natural patience. The trick to keeping them happy is simple: sunlight, space to breathe, and restraint with water. Once a week is enough. Let the soil dry. Let them rest. Over time, small roots will reach down into the tiny pores of the bowl, anchoring life into stone. It's a beautiful reminder that elegance doesn't need luxury. A handful of concrete, a few succulents, and your own touch of care can create something lasting. Minimal doesn't mean empty, it means meaningful. There's a quiet strength in concrete, simple, grounded, unpretentious. When molded by your own hands, it becomes the perfect cradle for life that grows slowly and steadily, like succulents do. Picture the rhythm of creation, mixing the gray powder, pouring it into a round mold, waiting for it to dry under the sun. When you finally lift the mold, you're holding a piece of calm solidity, cool to the touch, beautifully imperfect. Inside it, you'll place a handful of gravel for drainage, then soft cactus soil, and finally, your chosen succulents: echeveria, jade plant, or zebra haworthia. Their subtle hues, jade green, blush pink, dusty silver, glow gently against the neutral gray bowl. This DIY isn't just about making decor, it's about shaping balance. The concrete speaks of permanence, while the succulents whisper renewal. Place it on your work desk, kitchen counter, or balcony table. Every time you glance at it, you'll feel that quiet harmony between human craft and natural patience. The trick to keeping them happy is simple: sunlight, space to breathe, and restraint with water. Once a week is enough. Let the soil dry. Let them rest. Over time, small roots will reach down into the tiny pores of the bowl, anchoring life into stone. It's a beautiful reminder that elegance doesn't need luxury. A handful of concrete, a few succulents, and your own touch of care can create something lasting. Minimal doesn't mean empty, it means meaningful. Sometimes, art doesn't need paint or canvas. It just needs life. A succulent wall frame is exactly that. A living painting shaped by your own hands, nourished by sunlight and time. Imagine building your frame, a simple box made from reclaimed wood, no larger than a photo frame. You line it with a fine wire mesh, fill it with succulent soil, and begin to plant tiny rosettes, one by one, as if arranging brushstrokes on a masterpiece. Some leaves are soft green, others tinted lavender or dusty blue. Each plant grows in its own rhythm, yet together they form harmony, a mosaic that breathes. Hang it near your front door, in your kitchen, or outside your balcony. When sunlight touches it in the morning, the colors seem to shift. When evening comes, the shadows paint new shapes across the wall. This isn't static decor, it's alive. It changes every day, teaching patience and quiet joy. To care for it, mist lightly once or twice a week. Let the soil dry between waterings, and make sure your frame enjoys gentle light. Over the months, roots will grip the mesh, forming a lush tapestry that holds together like a natural fabric. There's something magical about creating a piece of living art. It reminds us that beauty isn't only meant to be seen, it's meant to grow. Every wall can become a story, every plant a word. And when you stand before your finished frame, you'll see more than succulents. You'll see your own calm spirit reflected in green. There's something timeless about old wood. Its rough surface, its faint scent of earth, and the way it carries the story of weather and time. When you turn a piece of reclaimed wood into a planter box, you're not just making a container. You're breathing life into something that has already lived. Imagine this. You find an old wooden crate in your shed, once used to carry apples or nails. You sand it gently, not to erase its past, but to reveal its texture. Every scratch, every grain a memory. Then you line it with a thin layer of coconut fiber or fabric, fill it with well-draining soil, and begin placing your succulents. Thick echeveria leaves, tiny sedum clusters, perhaps a trailing string of pearls cascading down the edge. The colors mix beautifully, soft greens against the deep brown of the wood, with sunlight dancing across the leaves. It's rustic, humble, and yet it feels like a quiet poem written by nature. This kind of arrangement doesn't need perfection. Let the plants grow unevenly. Let some leaves spill over. That's what gives it soul, that imperfect beauty we find only in handmade things. Place your box by the window, the garden path, or the entryway. Every glance will remind you that beauty can be reborn from what was once forgotten. And perhaps that's the charm of it, a reminder that even something worn and weathered can hold new life when touched with care. There is a certain stillness that comes from creating something small yet meaningful, like a miniature Zen tray garden. It's not about perfection, it's about presence. Each movement, each grain of sand, becomes a quiet meditation between you and nature. Start with a simple shallow tray, wood, ceramic, or even bamboo. Pour in fine white sand and smooth it gently with your hands. Then, choose a few small succulents, perhaps a jade plant, a haworthia, or an echeveria. Place them deliberately, leaving open space between them. Add a few pebbles, a bit of moss, maybe a tiny branch. Everything should feel balanced, yet unforced. As you draw lines in the sand using a small wooden rake, notice how the ripples form, gentle curves that echo the rhythm of calm water. This garden isn't about growth, it's about mindfulness. It invites you to pause, to breathe, to remember that beauty doesn't always shout, sometimes it whispers. Place your miniature garden on your work desk, beside your bed, or in your reading corner. When stress creeps in, take a minute to smooth the sand again. Watch how even the smallest touch restores order and serenity. The succulents, with their quiet resilience, will remind you that life thrives in simplicity. You don't need much to find peace. Just a little space, some patience, and a living reminder that calmness grows where care exists. This small tray might seem humble, but it holds something vast, a moment of stillness that fits right in the palm of your hand. Every tin can has a second chance, just like us. Once empty and forgotten, it can bloom again with life, color, and purpose. That's the charm of a recycled tin can garden. It transforms what's ordinary into something that grows and smiles back at you. Start by collecting old cans, coffee tins, biscuit cans, or even paint cans. Wash them clean, peel the labels if you like, or keep them for that rustic vintage buy. Then, punch a few drainage holes at the bottom. Brush on a coat of paint, maybe white, pastel, or bold colors, or leave them bare with their natural metallic gleam. Next, fill them halfway with gravel for drainage, then add cactus soil. Gently nestle in your favorite succulents, aloe, echeveria, or sedum. Add a sprinkle of small pebbles or sand on top for texture. Arrange them by the window or hang them from a railing. When sunlight hits them, the colors play together, greens, silvers, and the shiny metal reflections dancing in harmony. This DIY isn't just creative, it's sustainable. It teaches you that beauty doesn't have to be bought. It can be built from what's already around you. Every can becomes a tiny universe, holding roots, soil, and the hope of something new. And every time you look at them, you'll see more than plants. You'll see renewal, proof that life keeps reinventing itself, even in the simplest forms. It's not just a garden. It's a gentle reminder. Nothing is truly wasted when given a touch of love. There's a gentle kind of magic that happens when light meets life, when a flickering candle shares its warmth with the calm greens of a succulent garden. That's the soul of the candlelight succulent centerpiece. It's more than decor, it's a moment, a feeling of stillness wrapped in glow and color. Imagine preparing your table one late afternoon. You lay a wooden tray or a ceramic bowl at the center. Inside, you arrange small succulents, jade, echeveria, zebra haworthia, surrounding a few tea light candles or one tall pillar candle. The mix of stone, wax, and leaf feels simple, yet deeply poetic. When you light the candles, the flame dances softly, casting moving shadows over the plants, making them shimmer like living jewels. This centerpiece transforms any meal into something intimate, not extravagant, but full of soul. It doesn't demand perfection. Even uneven leaves or melted wax add charm. The warmth of the candles and the cool freshness of the plants form a harmony that soothes both eyes and heart. To keep it fresh, use unscented candles and avoid placing them too close to the plants. A little distance keeps your succulents happy and safe from the heat. After dinner, when the candles go out, the succulents remain quietly alive, holding on to the glow long after it fades. It's a reminder that the most beautiful moments don't come from grandeur, but from small, thoughtful gestures, a little light, a little green, and a touch of care that turns an ordinary night into something memorable. Sometimes, peace floats. It drifts quietly between sunlight and reflection, between earth and water. That's the feeling of a floating succulent island, a tiny piece of living art that seems to hover above the world. Start with a clear glass bowl or any vessel you love, maybe something you found in the kitchen, something simple. Fill it halfway with clean water. Then, take a small piece of cork, bamboo, or driftwood, your island. Cover its surface with a layer of damp moss, soft and cool to the touch. Press a few tiny succulents into the moss, their roots gently anchored. You'll notice how they seem to breathe instantly, as if they were meant to live there. When you set it on the water, it floats, steady yet alive. Sunlight hits the surface and creates ripples that dance beneath the plants. The reflections shimmer, duplicating every leaf and pebble in a gentle mirror. It's hypnotic in the most natural way. Maintenance is as easy as it looks. Mist the succulents occasionally and keep the water fresh. Avoid direct hot sun, and your little island will stay green and calm for weeks. It's more than decoration. It's a meditation. Every time you pass by, you'll feel your mind slow down, drawn to that quiet world adrift between light and silence. A floating island like this reminds us that beauty doesn't have to stand still. It can drift softly, like peace itself. Every wall has a story waiting to be told, and sometimes that story can grow. A succulent shadow box art turns a simple frame into a living picture, one that breathes quietly with every ray of light. Begin with a shallow wooden box, something reclaimed, something with character. Line the back with a bit of mesh or fabric to hold the soil. Then fill it halfway with a sandy succulent mix. Press it gently and start arranging your tiny plants as if you were painting. Echeveria as your brushstrokes, Haworthia as shadows, and trailing sedum as your flowing lines. When you lift the box upright, your garden becomes a piece of art, green against the grain of old wood, alive yet still. Hang it on your wall where sunlight glows softly in the morning. Each day, the leaves shift slightly, catching the light differently, like an ever-changing canvas. Caring for it is simple. Mist lightly, give it air and a bit of patience. The roots will anchor into the soil and the frame will hold its form, becoming a small ecosystem framed by your creativity. It's beautiful not because it's perfect, but because it evolves. The longer it lives, the more texture, depth, and warmth it gains, just like real art. A shadow box like this reminds us that creativity isn't about control. It's about collaboration with life itself. When nature becomes the artist, your wall turns into a breathing masterpiece. In the quiet of the desert, life whispers instead of shouts. The mini desert landscape brings that stillness home, a reminder that beauty doesn't need abundance, only balance and patience. Start with a shallow bowl or tray, something wide and open like a horizon. Pour a thin layer of golden sand, smooth it gently with your hands. Add a few scattered pebbles, light gray, beige, maybe 1 or 2 darker stones for contrast. Then, choose your plants wisely. Small succulents, a touch of cactus, maybe an air plant to echo the wild spirit of the desert. As you arrange them, notice the silence in the act. Every placement feels deliberate, almost sacred, a reflection of how nature builds harmony even in harshness. You can add driftwood, tiny shells, or a little piece of dried moss for warmth. Under sunlight, the sand glows golden, the plants cast soft shadows, and suddenly your tabletop feels like a piece of the earth itself. Caring for it is simple. Let the soil dry completely before watering again. The desert thrives on restraint, not excess. Over time, a thin layer of dust may settle. Don't wipe it off. Let it stay. It gives your miniature world a sense of time, a trace of authenticity. This DIY isn't just about decoration, it's about mindfulness. Each grain of sand reminds you that peace can be built from simplicity. Every time you look at it, you'll feel that slow, grounding calm, like standing under a vast sky, even when you're inside your own home. Circles have no beginning and no end. They hold the quiet promise of renewal. That's what makes the wreath succulent frame so timeless. It's not just a decoration, it's a living symbol of continuity, patience, and care. Imagine starting with a simple circular base, maybe a wire frame or an old grapevine wreath. Wrap it with moist moss, soft and fragrant, then secure it with a bit of thread or fishing line. This becomes your canvas. One by one, you tuck small succulents into the moss. Echeveria, sedum, graptopetalum, maybe a string of pearls that drapes gently around the edge. Each one finds its place naturally, no rush, no rules. As the wreath takes shape, you'll notice how the circle breathes, alive, symmetrical, yet never rigid. Hang it by your door where morning light touches it, or on a garden wall that welcomes the breeze. With time, the succulents will root themselves deeper, filling the gaps until it becomes lush and full, like a crown of calm life. Care is simple. Mist lightly, give it a few hours of sunlight each day, and let nature do the rest. Over months, the plants will grow and shift, giving your wreath new textures and colors. It's not static art. It's alive, evolving with every season. Every time you see it, it reminds you of cycles, growth, rest, renewal. A wreath like this doesn't just decorate a home. It whispers a quiet truth. Beauty never ends. It just transforms.